Hello! I watched some stuff this month and I didn't know which one to make a video on, so here's all of it. First thing I watched was the new How to Train Your Dragon. Yikes! Now, I don't watch these new live-action remakes because I find them artistically dull and worthless and manipulative and offensive and I hate everything about their existence, but I decided to check this one out because I don't know, it's DreamWorks' first offense and they already greenlit the sequel, so I didn't think my ticket would have that many consequences. Plus, people said this was the good one. Was it? No! I did not like this movie! Here's the thing, right? If you're adapting the original animated movie into live-action medium, it's pretty integral that you don't massacre the original story. If you take Lilo and Stitch and completely break apart its story, if you ruin every arc, it's not going to translate well. If you take The Lion King and remove every ounce of expression from everyone's eyes, people won't like it. It is simply stupid to change aspects that contribute to the story working. But here's what some also don't seem to understand. You do need to change something. Because if you're adapting a book to a movie, then fine, keep everything the exact same. Because guess what? The change between mediums is enough to warrant this retelling. You're adding cinematography, score, performances. That justifies its existence. But animation to live action doesn't give you enough new elements to justify doing a shot-for-shot remake. And that's what this is. It's only longer because live action is inherently slower. It is literally the exact same movie, except worse, in every way. Let the actors do their own versions, see what they add to the story, put it in new contexts. Maybe the story is actually darker than we think. Maybe the characters have subtle flaws that weren't super apparent in the first movie. Lean on that, give more character to the side characters, add more world building, just fucking do something! The only thing they add is that Astrid has a bit more backstory, and honestly, the only thing that added was make her and Hiccup's romance less believable. I'll give him this. The direction is solid. Actually, anytime the characters aren't talking, there's a chance it works quite well. The opening one take or Hiccup and Toothless bonding wordlessly is quite good. The camera work is good at enhancing the action, and there's some scenes where the lighting and cinematography are maybe even better than the original. But that's like maybe 4 scenes, man. For the entire rest of this, it just looks like the same movie, but worse. Sometimes they don't even look like they're actually in the movie. The production design is fine, but never lives up to the animated version. The actors are fine for the most part. Mason Thames is especially good, but they're all just imitating the original cast. They're performing like they want to be animated, and Thames does pull off the physical acting that comes with that, but he's the only one. The guy playing TJ Miller's character is doing a TJ Miller impression. Like, I already find TJ Miller annoying, but because he's bad at it, it's like unprecedented levels of annoying. This is what I mean when I say let the actors give us new interpretations of the characters. What's the point if they're just trying to imitate the original cast? They're never going to be as good as them. What's the point? The music is still great, but big fucking whoop. You took the exact same score and copy-pasted it. Great job. Anytime I found myself almost enjoying a scene, I remembered, oh yeah, this is the exact same scene except it was done better in the animated one. Like, is this where we're at now as a society? Are we letting this movie off the hook just because it didn't actively ruin the story? Its legacy will forever be being an identical, just worse in every way version of another movie. Who in their right mind is going to choose to watch this over the original? Like, what do you want? Should we give you a medal? Should we throw a parade? Should we tell the mayor that you managed to use another movie as a storyboard and didn't add a single damn thing? Fuck you, dude. 4 out of 10. I fucking hated this. Then I watched Materialists. I quite enjoyed this. Celine's song Past Lives was exceptional, and while this isn't quite as good, I do think it's worth a watch. This is basically about if Hinge was an IRL business where the app algorithm was Dakota Johnson, and I gotta say, I love the premise. As someone with an unsuccessful Hinge track record, I found this to be very funny. I think that's probably the film's biggest strength. It puts the calm in rom-com. This was an experience that was actually enhanced by the crowd laughing along to every joke. I'd say all 3 of the actors took some warming up to, but by the end I did like all of them. Dakota Johnson can be pretty good when she actually cares. It is so nice seeing Chris Evans in a good movie again because his last one was 6 years ago. And Pedro Pascal is just very hot. I really like how this movie is realistic yet hopeful. The message is basically to stop exclusively focusing on superficial aspects in a relationship, whether it be a woman's weight or a man's height or how much money they make, and to instead focus on forming an actual romantic connection. But it also recognizes that these elements are obviously going to ultimately end up factoring in, and that we should be aware of them whilst not prioritizing them. I think that's pretty clever and a good note for the movie to end on. I also love the direction here. The camera placements and movements are just so damn good. I just like how the story unfolds. It has a 3-act structure, but it kind of forgoes a climax or anything of that scale. Pedro Pascal's character leaves the movie kind of early on, and it's much more peaceful than you'd expect. And I think it works. The conflict isn't the characters' relationships with each other, it's their relationships with dating. And having them come to terms with the notion of their relationship rather than each other was very fitting. Anything I disliked? Yeah, a couple. For one, I think it just looks so bland. Past Lives had a fitting color palette, but this is a much more comedic movie, and I would prefer if the image reflected the fun a bit more. I think it also could have probably been a little shorter. I think the B-plot could have used more time in the oven. As it stands, it's not bad, but it just feels underdeveloped. I'll also say that it didn't have much staying power in my mind, I forgot most of it by the time I got home. But above all, my biggest problem was... Okay, look. I am so fine with a movie saying something obvious but important. I am someone who is okay with the concept of women existing. Feminism is important, but I'm not a fan of a movie saying something super surface level and then expecting claps afterwards. There's a few times where this movie gets preachy in a not super deep way and then acts like it did something. I know you're capable of saying more, do it! For the most part, this movie is very good at keeping the criticism of online dating balanced at all genders, but there are times where it rightfully focuses on some men-specific problems, but these just don't feel as fleshed out, and the dialogue in these sections is just so much more in your face about it. That just bugged me. Anyway, I had a fun time. 8 out of 10. Ballerina! I must preface this by saying I've only seen the first John Wick, and I only saw this because I was already at the theater and nothing else was playing. Yeah, I don't know, this was cute, I guess. The story is worse than ever. John Wick isn't a particularly well-developed story, but he's a pretty charismatic character, and as a dog owner, I respect his motivations. Eve is really boring. There wasn't a single line of dialogue here that was, hell, good. The story is the most bare-bones action plot ever, and the acting... Christ. I mean, I'll just say that literally everyone sucked. Every person who spoke was bad, but like... I don't know, it's not like Keanu was good in The Matrix, so when he's bad in John Wick, it's kind of expected. Plus, I don't know, he just has aura. And that movie at least had some good actors like Willem Dafoe. Ana de Armas was actually good in Knives Out. I have no idea what happened here, but she genuinely gives Keanu a run for his money. And if you say, why'd you come to a John Wick movie expecting a good story or performances? Fuck you, I need something at least serviceable to care just a bit about whether the protagonist dies or not. Anyway, yeah, at least the action rocked. The fight scenes in the first John Wick get kind of repetitive for me because all of them just involved shootouts, but this one's much more creative with it. Fighting with plates? That's entertaining. Flamethrower? That's awesome. Using a hose against a flamethrower like you're two wizards shooting magic beams at each other? I'm fucking sold. Plus there's so many one-takes here that make the action so dynamic. I usually get pretty exhausted in never-ending action like this, but it kinda worked for me here. Yeah, it was alright. 6 out of 10. Now for the movie that nobody knew about. Elio is the newest Pixar movie, and its marketing budget was a whopping $7 and a dream. I actually feel kinda bad for it, cause this one's solid. Following a young boy on his quest to get kidnapped by aliens, this is probably the cutest Pixar movie in a good while. I found this to be extremely adorable. The characters are super likable, and the humor focuses on the fact that the characters are children, which leads to a very jovial tone. Elio is just a character I liked following, and all of the aliens he meets are a delight to watch. Plus, his backstory is actually really sad, and it's handled a lot more maturely than I was expecting. He's also some top-tier neurodivergent representation, I must say. This bro's rocking the tism. I love that. The animation was one thing I wasn't expecting to be wowed by. In a post-Spider-Verse world, I'm very used to watching animated movies with really creative animation than looking at Pixar and sighing. They have good animation, but they haven't really grown or tried to adapt to the current, more bolder and exciting animation landscape. This one though, I mean, it looks like Pixar, don't get me wrong, but holy hell was I mesmerized by some of these sequences. I think it helps that the set pieces here are way more varied and fun than usual. Most of the alien designs are somehow fresh and unique, and the animators just go all out with the locations. The interior, the spaceship with different rooms that each contain some insane invention, the prison, the fucking sand. Gorgeous. I was really close to saying that people are wrong about this and giving it an 8, but unfortunately the third act is just not it. Now, most of the movie is a fairly generic but well-executed kids movie. None of it really surprised me. So much of the dialogue was stuff I accurately predicted, but I don't need every movie to change my life. I was willing to accept that. The third act, however, is just so rushed. Once Elio's aunt finds out what's been happening, we immediately rush to the solution that she comes up with in like 4 seconds. So many previously seen characters just show up out of nowhere with no questions and they all somehow have a full grasp of the situation. And I mean, even if there was an explanation I missed, it all just happened so fucking suddenly. And the final resolution with the villain is insulting. We've been shown so much evidence that that wouldn't work, but of course it fucking does. It's not the worst final act I've ever seen, and it certainly has its moments, but it just felt like a compilation of previous Disney and Pixar endings I've already seen combined as speedrun. Still, I did like it a lot. 7.5 out of 10. Finally, I watched F1. This was my most hyped movie from the ones in this video, and that's for one reason. Joseph Kosinski. No, not John Krasinski, Joseph Kosinski, director of Top Gun Maverick, one of the best blockbusters of this decade. The trailer looked sick, and this man made one of my favorite movies of the past 5 years, so needless to say, I was set. And guys, I think I need to stop getting excited about movies. This is not my year. F1 is Top Gun 2, except stale. And no, I don't really care about Formula 1. But I also don't care about the military or the Air Force. Hell, I would say I'm actively against those things, and Top Gun 2 made me ready to enlist. It made me understand propaganda, so I don't think that's a factor worth considering. Here's the thing with all these hell yeah bro movies. They're not just fun, action-packed schlock. Mission Impossible doesn't just work because Tom Cruise becomes a superhuman psychopath twice a film. It works because the characters are genuinely amazing. You care about them. You care about their friendships. RRR is a beautiful depiction of male friendship. Creed is a very human look at struggling to love yourself. Fast and Furious is literally about family. And I shouldn't even have to explain why Top Gun 2 only works because of the character conflict at the heart of the grand plane room conflict. These aren't just dumb action flicks with no care put into the story. They're not John Wick. And this movie understands that. It is just so bad at it. First of all, this feels like we're supposed to be familiar with the characters. Brad Pitt has the same vibe as a returning legacy character who you see and you're like, yeah, no one can do it like the original. But he's not. This is the first time we're seeing him. And he's, Jesus Christ. He's trying to do Tom Cruise. But Tom Cruise has intrinsic charisma, whereas Brad Pitt doesn't. He's giving the most phoned-in, nothing burger of a performance I've ever seen. I seriously never gave a single shit. The rest of the characters aren't particularly better either. Joshua is not likable, I'm sorry. There's not a single scene for either of our main characters where we're given any reason to like them aside from the most surface level shit. He has a mom! Don't you care? Brad Pitt lets him win poker in what might be a scene more predictable than anything I complained about in Elio. Aw, fuck off, man. Javier Bardem is fine, he's okay. Academy Award winner Javier Bardem recently played one of the best characters in Dune, and he's just whatever. And how do you waste fucking Carrie Condon? Once again, she's just serviceable. How do you manage to make Carrie fucking Condon just serviceable? She's Carrie Condon. She's in Banshees of Inisherin. She's in fucking Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul! You can't waste her like this! You can't use her on the most basic, predictable, and first romantic subplot ever! This movie feels so fucking long because I don't care about anything. It genuinely felt like it was never going to end. The editing is so obnoxious. I like me a good montage, but oh my god, let me take in a shot. Stop cutting every half a millisecond. The cinematography works just fine. Unlike Materialists, I think the color palette works here to stay consistent with the driving scenes and the tone. And the lighting is fine. The framing is fine. What a fine movie. I guess I'll end on some positives. The sound design is good. My early Oscar prediction is that this will only get nominated for sound, and it's not going to be a bad nomination. Should it win? I'd rather something a bit more creative. I think I'd pick Sinners over it so far, or even Mission Impossible, but sound was important to this movie, and it's pretty good. I like that Brad Pitt's character kind of sucks. Like, they pull that older guy secretly knows what he's doing a couple times, but also he just kind of sucks a lot of time, and I think it does make this stand out a bit more. And like, yeah, the driving scenes are pretty awesome. There were admittedly a few moments where I hit the locked in pose. It's certainly a movie where the fine cinematography and the bad editing just ignore their usual tendencies and go hard as hell when they need to. I'm glad the movie has an absurd amount of racing scenes because god, they were just so much better than the rest of the movie. I'm so disappointed, man. It's just Top Gun 2 without the sauce. It's like the exact same story beats, it just lacks likable characters. I like Maverick, I like Rooster, I like Hangman, I like Phoenix, I like Bob. I do not like... Hold on, let me check. Sonny Hayes. I'm not completely giving up on you, Joseph Kaczynski, but you better lock in for the next one. 5 out of 10.